Hey guys, how y'all doing? How's everything going? Well, on Facebook Live and YouTube, make sure you share this channel. I got a very special guest today, Ricardo Villarreal. He is running for uh, Congressional Texas 21, and here he is.
Hi, Andres. How are you? As Andres said, I am Ricardo Villarreal. I'm running for Congressional District 21. That's the one occupied by Chip Roy. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Laredo, Texas. I was born and raised there. I graduated from United High School. And after high school, I went to medical school in Guadalajara. I, I went through there and practiced medicine for about 2.5 years, 3 years before I actually made my way back to San Antonio. My family had moved up here, so that's the reason I came back to San Antonio, and I've been here for about 17 years. After I came back to San Antonio, I went back to Our Lady of the Lake University and got an MBA in healthcare administration and worked with different hospitals within the San Antonio area and also South Texas. Part of what I've done in the last decade and a half has been patient safety, quality improvement, process improvement, project management within hospitals. So I've been looking at improving the care of patients within our health system, and that's what I've done for quite a while. And in addition to that, I've also been an Army reservist. I joined the Army Reserves in 2008 and was there for 8 years. I got mobilized one year to Fort Hood, which was from 2012 to 2013. So I had a great opportunity to travel Highway 281 and get to know District 21. I went through Johnson City and Blanco, and went through all the different towns that are all the way to Lampasas, and then all the way to Fort Hood. So with that, I've gotten to know District 21, and I've also worked with Hill Country Memorial Hospital. I worked there for about 6 months in Fredericksburg. Uh, I only worked there for 6 months, and it's one of the reasons why it's part of my platform in terms of affordable housing. So one of the things that I encountered there is that the housing costs in Fredericksburg are uh, way, way, way above that in San Antonio. And one of the things that limited me and my family to be able to move up there. And in transitioning now in terms of why I'm running, I'm running because there's a lot of issues going on within our district, and our representative is not addressing them. He's very partisan and not necessarily focusing on the needs of our communities, but rather looking at specific things that are for the Republican Party. And I think that based on our values and the needs that we have, we need to be able to have somebody that represents us a little bit better. Um, and I think that's the introduction I can give you, Andres. If you have any specific questions for me, I'd be more than happy. You're on mute.
What's your number one goal to beat Chip Roy?
My goal, my goal is to defeat him at any cost. Uh, I've met some of the other congressional candidates, and that's one of the things that I share in common with them is that above all else, we're all more than qualified to be beat Chip Roy. But given the situation and the standing that we're in, it's more likely that we're going to be going into a runoff. And one of the things that I've pledged is to support the candidate that goes forward. And I think that makes me one of the different kind of candidates is that I know my mission. My mission is to defeat Chip Roy. I would much rather do it myself, but at the end of the day, understanding that there's a lot of different factors, especially money, that comes into play. So I've dedicated my whole race to getting the best candidate out there to be able to beat Chip Roy.
Yes, and tell us what area of 21 does this include?
So, Texas District 21 includes the northern part of Bexar County. So from 410 all the way up to the northern part, it kind of it's been redone with the new redistricting. It includes part of um, um, I want to say uh, Blanco County, Comal County, Hayes County, Kerr County, Gillespie County, Bandera County, um,
Come out,
and Kendall County, Comal County. Yes.
come out.
So, and then all the way to Travis County, which before it covered the southern portion of Austin and the east side of Austin. Now that portion of the district has been reduced to Barton Springs. So the west side of Travis County is part of the district. So significantly reduced our voters that were in Austin.
What's the main issue or the issues that you will be standing with Texas 21?
So there's a lot of issues that haven't been approached. Chip Roy's been focusing on immigration and healthcare freedom and veterans issues, but not really doing so much about that. I've talked about the different positions and the different scenarios that we might be able to face going into the next congressional class, and part of it is understanding where we're at in terms of the numbers of in Congress. So what I've gone through is looked at the worst case scenario, a split House and Senate, or the best case scenario if we control even more seats in Congress and also in the Senate. And with the worst case scenario, one of the things that I'm really looking at is COVID. COVID has really taken a big hit with us in District 21, and it's no wonder with Chip Roy being anti-vaxxer and anti-masker and making everything about healthcare freedom and not really addressing the elephant in the room in terms of the number of infections that we have and the number of deaths that we've had here within the San Antonio and Austin community, and also in the rural communities. He's still just brushed it off and like it's never happened. So in the worst case scenario, my focus would be if the Republican Party takes over the Congress, I would still be able to do something. I'm not going to be like him that's going to obstruct. I'm going to get things done. So I start with COVID. The other thing that's pertinent to not just San Antonio and Austin, but the rest of the communities within District 21 is affordable housing. That's something that I could be doing with HUD to be able to provide different venues and different ways to be able to provide affordable housing for our citizens, and be able to work with nonprofits, for-profit, and government agencies to be able to deliver on those things. And I think it's not a one silver bullet kind of scenario in terms of affordable housing, just because of the different intricacies of the different towns and different cities that we're able to connect different issues or different solutions to be able to provide that to the communities. And the other thing that would be under the worst case scenario is definitely working with veterans and being able to provide healthcare, mental health, and make sure that there's no homeless veterans within District 21. Then switching over, which is something kind of a red meat for Republicans, is border security. Having been born in Laredo and growing up there, I know the border, I know the river, I know the situation in terms of border security. I'm not going to go take pictures out there and not do anything about it. What I'm planning to do, which is something that I actually put up on Twitter, that I actually support with Tony Gonzalez in terms of being able to bring in immigration reform and being part of border security. And I think that that's going to be something that I would be able to work with the Republican colleagues. My plan is to work bipartisan. That is the thing. We've seen within this last year that we can't do it alone as Democrats. We've seen with the Build Back Better that two senators are holding up the whole bill. I want to be able to bridge that gap and actually get some support within Congress from Republican friends, and I think that I'm able to do that. The other thing that I would be looking at in the worst case scenario is Biden's infrastructure law that went into place. It's a lot of great things that is available for District 21. If we're looking at jobs and construction, transportation, that's something that I want to make sure that they're coming to our district. Make sure it doesn't go to somewhere else that's not going to be beneficial to us. I want to be able to have electrical vehicle recharge stations. We have Tesla factory on the other side of Austin, on the other side of I-35. I want to make sure that there's a network of charging stations for all those cars, all those trucks that are being built, so that we're able to have that not just in the cities, but also in the small towns and the small communities of Texas 21. If I started looking at all the different charging stations in Kerrville and Fredericksburg and Dripping Springs and Blanco and Johnson City, and there's maybe 1, 3 at the most in some places. And I think that that's something that we can improve upon based on the current law that's already been passed. I want to make sure that those funds come into our district and we're able to get up to par. The other part is broadband. If it's already been put into law, I want to make sure that broadband access is in place in rural communities, because there's a lot of things that broadband access internet is able to bring into our communities. It's able to bring education, universities. I'm doing courses online at the moment, and it's everything is done on Zoom. And if you don't have access to internet, you can't participate. The other portion is healthcare. You can do telemedicine through video calls. You can have access to doctors, specialists through internet. So I want to make sure that those dollars come into our district, and that's in the worst case scenario. I'm not going to be, like I said, just sitting on my thumbs for 2 years until the Democrats regain control. Now, in a split, whether it's the House or the Senate, there's a lot of things that I can still do besides the ones that I already named. If it's a split Senate and Congress, I would be looking at the environment and the EPA, energy, those kinds of things. Again, going back to what I said about Biden's infrastructure law, those are things that are already built into the law. My job would be looking to have them come here. The other part would be looking at Medicaid expansion. One of the difficult things, my goal would be to have Medicare for all, but in a situation where we don't have the overwhelming majority in both houses, I think our best bet would be looking at Medicaid expansion. Now, I do understand that the states and the governor is the one that brings in Medicaid. What I'm proposing is that we go around that uh, ability to deny or decline having that Medicaid expansion and actually build it into the Affordable Care Act. And I think that uh, a, a lot of con- Congress members and Senate members are easier to buy into that Medicaid automatic Medicaid expansion into the Affordable Care Act rather than going for the whole enchilada in terms of Medicare for all. The other portion of it is looking at poverty and food security. That's something that we've seen with this administration, that those refund checks, that and those stipends, those uh, uh, income tax returns are all beneficial to getting people out of poverty, to moving up the children that don't have to go hungry at home. That's something that I could do, and I would be looking at improving that and holding some of those incentives and those stipends up there. And then one of the things that I've heard plenty of times is student loan debt. That's something that's very, very popular As someone that's working on his fifth degree, I know uh, the cost of tuition, the cost of attending school. So I know about student loans and how much they can be a toll on you. What I would be working with, rather than I know that the goal would be to wipe out student loan debt. Trying to sell that to the other party is going to be a little bit difficult. Understanding that, I think we're able to look at student loan interest rates. We shouldn't be making a profit out of students. It shouldn't be a business. So that's one of the things that I would be looking at in terms of reducing student loan interest to something that's manageable, something that's reasonable. We can't be having 13% interest loans out there because it's going to be impossible to be ever pay it back. And another thing is looking at the Equality Act. I think that's uh, necessary and it's important in terms of being able to have that Equality Act be able to go forward. Again, I know the difficulty of it passing on a split uh, Congress or Senate, but I think it's needed to be brought up. And if we don't bring it up, if we just leave it in the back burner, it's never going to get passed. So I would be either sponsoring it or proposing it in terms of the Equality Act. Another thing is going back to student loans, increasing our Pell Grant eligibility, and increasing loan forgiveness programs. Army veteran, so I know about student loan repayment programs that the military has. What I would be looking at is increasing those kinds of service forgiveness jobs or careers, but not just to have them inside the cities, but have them in the rural communities. I think as we look at jobs and that are leaving those rural communities is teachers, healthcare. I want to be able to incentivize people to go back there into the country and be able to establish some roots down there. And what better way to work with their student loan debt as a way to forgive that loan and be able to have professionals out there. And then lastly, I would be looking at the best case scenario. This is if Santa Claus came to town, if we had full control of the Congress and we had 60 senators, Democratic senators, where would bypass, we wouldn't need to be talking about the filibuster. And in that case, I know that the Voting Rights Act is going on right now in terms of President Biden, but I think that if it still hasn't been resolved, that's one of the things that we need to look at. We need to look at the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Um, Hopefully, and I'm crossing my fingers, it gets done before I get there. But if we had everything, the House, the Senate, and the President, and we didn't have to lobby some of our conservative Democrats, I would be looking at Medicare for all, student loan forgiveness, and uh, one of the things that I really am is near and dear to my heart is immigration reform. I mentioned it before in the worst case scenario, but I think that immigration reform at the level that is needed we need full support of all Democrats in having control of both the Senate and the House.
Uh,
So those are a lot of things that are pertinent issues within our district that are our good friend Chip Roy has failed to address or even to bring up. So that's what I propose, and those are the things that I would be working on. So
yeah,
I,
and he's just worried about uh, Dr. Fauci and all that stuff, not believing in science. And uh,
yeah.
New York is like way safer than we are
Hmm.
because they're requiring masks everywhere. In
Yep.
Texas, we're a danger zone. Uh, let's talk about January 6th.
Let's talk about it.
Uh, how awful that was for everybody. in America. How we don't believe our democracy is working for us.
and
And they want to intrude the U.S. Capitol and telling them, and we got Chip Roy, our governor, our lieutenant governor, our attorney general, that think it's all right. Let's give it up with the investigation. We need to start um, holding people accountable.
I think it's more than that. I think it's sad that 66% of Republicans think that this election was illegitimate or stolen. Um, I want to go back 5 years when Donald Trump won the presidency. Uh, I thought maybe it was stolen, maybe it was rigged, maybe there was an issue, maybe Russia. I don't know, but the difference was that I accepted it. I came to the realization that it was a legitimate uh, um, campaign, that it was a legitimate win, and that there were some issues that we needed to work out. Just because I don't like the outcome of a situation doesn't mean that it's wrong. Doesn't mean that it's illegitimate or it's rigged. Uh, what we haven't been able to discern is that we knew that from the beginning that any opportunity that the previous president had saying, if I don't win, then it's not fair. If I don't win, it's rigged, and nobody said anything. We just took it at face value. Even after the election, how many weeks did it take for Mitch McConnell to accept that it was that Joe Biden had won? I mean, there's a lot of people that are complicit in this kind of situation, and it's sad that uh, these lawmakers take an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States from both enemies, foreign and domestic, and the act of omission on their part to speak up is giving fuel to people. When we look at COVID, when we look at the election, those kinds of actions have consequences. And unfortunately, we got to see January 6th as a consequence, as a failed coup, and as an insurrection. Storming the Capitol for what? To stop the count? To stop a process that was legitimate, that is legitimate? Uh, as I've mentioned before, in terms of being able to go through the primary and hopefully facing Chip Roy in November. If I don't win, I'm not going to say that it was stolen, that it wasn't fair, that uh, there was some dark evil forces or things that kept it from being something that was fair. Um,
Because it's a part of our process. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
This is a part of our process.
so looking at it is putting on your big boy pants and actually accepting what reality is, and I think that's one of the unfortunate things. I know that I've mentioned before in terms of people that are Republicans that I admire, like Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, that go up against party because for me, country comes first before party. And even though I'm a Democrat, today I got asked what what I was. I said I'm Texan first and Democrat second. And I think that's one of the things that we need to acknowledge, and that we share in common with the rest of our our brothers on the other side, is that first we're Americans or Texans, uh, and then we're whatever party we're at.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the things that we need to acknowledge and know that there's a lot more things that we have in common. We have a lot of values in common. It's just uh, some people exploit division. There's a strategy that people use right here, which is divide and conquer. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're in the state we're in, is that people are using division on purpose for their own benefit. And I want to be able to eliminate that. I know that we could go back to certain situations, but we have to acknowledge that the sky is blue and not pink. We need to be able to face certain facts and be able to understand, to get to that baseline of understanding each other and having working from there on up, and understanding what we're there to do. We're there to help people. We're there to make progress, make this a better country. So
Yes, yes. And also, I just want to mention that you will be the first Latino to ever hold this seat in Texas 21. We, and this is an advantage. We have never had a Latino candidates in this district.
that's correct.
You know, it's important for all of us, a veteran Latino.
And one of the things that you mentioned is that a veteran Latino, and it hasn't been Democrat in over 40 years. This seat hasn't been Democrat. It's been. I'm younger than the last Democrat that was in that office, so that's one of the things that I look forward to. But again, looking at things is that uh, with the gerrymandering, with the way it's been worked out, uh, we can't do this alone. This is not a Democrat kind of seat. I'm reaching across the aisle to be able to work with some of the independents and some of the Republicans. I have plenty of Republican friends, and we might have. It's like being a Cowboys fan and having somebody go against the Eagles. It's like we love our teams, and we get into fights, but at the end of the day, we want our teams to win. And sometimes we have to put those kinds of feelings apart and look at what we're there to do, and actually serve the people. So I look forward to representing everybody within the district, whether they're red, they're blue, purple, independent, or disenfranchised. One of the things that we've seen within the laws of Texas that the state legislature has done and the governor has done is being able to take people out of the voting rolls, making it more difficult to vote. This morning, I sent out a Twitter in terms of an article that I saw about the Bexar County voting, in terms of being able to sign up for mail-in voting, that you have to have the same ID, the same thing. You can't have your social security card and ID. They have to match up, and you have to do it the same way. And sometimes they have to throw away those requests because it, it's with the new law. If they don't use the same kind of ID, the same type of identification, then it's invalidated. So it's a lot of hurdles that are put in place just to have less participation. And I think that with voting, the more people we invite to vote, the better we are in able to represent people. And it goes back to what we talked about in terms of having mistrust in the system. Let's look at the facts. Double
Yeah,
voting. There's people that think that undocumented immigrants are voting in our elections, which is totally false. But again, it's some of the lies that are propagated by some people that again, if you repeat the lie enough times, it becomes fact for some people, and we want to be able to actually have those facts clarified, real facts, proven facts, not a lie that is repeated 100 times until it becomes a fact. So
yeah. And look at what happened in Comal County yesterday. Comal Democrats.
so
A stupid Trumper that went over there, and thank God for the cameras that they had. Let's see if Comal County does anything.
see, that's something that doesn't surprise me. I think people are frustrated, and they take out their frustrations in a non-productive way. If you're frustrated with the other side, if I'm frustrated with Republicans, the last thing I want to do is damage them. I want to show them something different. I want to show them the kindness. I want to show them what we can do together, not further divide. And I think that's a really bad thing in terms of uh, being able to show the frustration. It doesn't generate anything other than uh, people being upset. Um, I saw that in that door. It cost $900. That's $900 that could have gone into other things like registering voters or outreach or being able to provide more services. And I think that it's 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 a sad situation where our country is divided that much that we have to have those kinds of things within our communities. It's our communities. We're doing it to each other. As neighbors, we need to be able to come back to each other and be able to embrace each other and actually move on. And again, look at the things that we have in common, not look at the things that make us different.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we know that Republicans are coming over to our party, and uh, we we need to welcome them into our party. Instead of saying you voted in the Republican primary the last time, we need to welcome them in to our
Hmm.
party with open arms and say, "Here, let me give you a hug. Let me uh, show you how important our issues are,
Yep.
and our issues care about people."
Absolutely. And that's one of the things. I actually read an article last night. I was up bored and just trying to think of all these different things. And I was looking at an article in terms of 2016 and in terms of Bernie Sanders supporters that in the primary and how they voted in the general election. And it was about 10% of Bernie Sanders supporters actually voted for Trump instead of for Hillary Clinton. And it looked at that disappointment in terms of people that were frustrated with the situation that wanted somebody that was not part of the establishment, and that's why they voted for Donald Trump. It was significant enough that it could have turned the race over had they stayed home or voted the other way. But I think it's very important to kind of bring in what you said in terms of welcoming people, and it happens plenty of times in terms of we don't understand the situations that they're in. We don't understand what's going on in their lives or why they're thinking a certain way. Uh, as Democrats, we need to be able to welcome them in and show them why we're accepting how diverse we are. We're not monoliths. We're not all on one side of the party. We're not all very liberal. There's some that are. I call myself a pragmatic progressive because I don't let uh, perfection stand in the way of progress. And that's why I think that makes me a little bit different because I'm able to have conversation with very conservative Republicans and very liberal Democrats and still be able to have some point of discussion. We might not agree on everything, but we're able to talk about things. And I think that's the most important part that we can ask any Republicans that know that Chip Roy is not the best option. Is that there's other options and we're trying to bring you in and make you part of this conversation and understand what your important issues are. And that's one of the things that I've been doing as part of my campaign is doing that outreach is not just these are the things that I think are important. Is I'm looking for the feedback from the people in terms of what is important to you. What do I need to address that's important to you? And whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent, you have different priorities and different things going on in your life. And I think that's part of it is that being able to address those kinds of things, but and not just focus on things that are just good for your party, like Chip Roy has done, which doesn't do anything. Taking pictures at the border doesn't solve anything. Put a bill together, put a bipartisan bill together, and do something.
Yeah.
If you're really that interested in the border, he forgets that um, the border is 150 miles from our district, but he thinks it's very relevant to us. And I might have to agree with in terms of the drugs and the human trafficking that's going on, but that's not something that's happened this year or last year. That's something that's been going on for past decades since I was growing up over there. So it's not something new. It's just something that hasn't been addressed. But I think going forward, I believe that we can move in the right direction and work together on different issues. Like I've mentioned, I'm more than willing to work with Republicans and Democrats and anybody in between to get things done for our district.
Uh, I know you have to go. You have another Stonewall with Austin, right?
I do.
Good luck, sir.
Thank
Uh,
you very much.
give us give us your closing.
My closing is, I think I've talked about all the different issues that I think are relevant or things that are needed within our district. But I want people to know that we're putting up a good panel of candidates. I feel I'm the most qualified based on my education, my experience, and the different things in my life that I understand. I don't come up with problems. I come up with solutions, and I think that's one of the things that I look forward to working within the Congress is working on solutions for us. So if you vote for me, you're looking for somebody that's going to work across the aisle and working to bring everybody together to get things done. So thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo, and let us uh, let us know what your website is and
Absolutely.
your
My
Facebook
web
page.
Sure. My website is www.vote Ricardo Villarreal, and Ricardo Villarreal, Villarreal has two R's. If it doesn't come out, you can Google my name, and my website's going to be the top one that comes out on your Google search. In my website, you're more than welcome to go through it. There's plenty of different tabs and different options. You're able to even compare the other candidates. I have links to them, to their web pages. I want people to go through my website and through my challengers websites as well, to be able to make an informed decision and make up your mind who the best candidate is. Because like I said, at the end of the day, my mission is to defeat Chip Roy at any cost.
Thank you again.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure having you on my
No,
show.
thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for hosting me.
Bye bye.
Bye.